Have you ever watched the news coming out of Washington and just felt like you were getting whiplash? One day it's all about threats and tariffs, and the next it's all about enduring partnerships. Well, political scientist Stephen Walt has this really fascinating theory that might just make sense of all this chaos. He calls it the good cop, bad cop foreign policy. And honestly, it's a total game changer for understanding what might really be going on.
So this is the puzzle at the heart of it all. Why does the U.S. sometimes treat its oldest, closest allies with this wild mix of friendship and hostility? It's a question that has left a lot of European capitals, well, completely spinning.
All right, so here's how we're going to break this down today. First, we'll dig into those confusing signals themselves. Then, we'll get into Walt's good cop, bad cop theory. After that, we're going to explore what he thinks the real objective is, the long-term risks, and finally, what Walt sees as Europe's only real way to respond.
Okay, so let's dive right in with the problem itself. This pattern of completely contradictory messages that seems designed to keep allies perpetually on their back foot.
I mean, just imagine you're a diplomat trying to figure this out. One day, you're getting hit with these sharp public criticisms and threats of a full-blown trade war. Then, literally the next day, you're hearing these warm reassurances about a deep and lasting partnership. Walt argues this isn't random noise. It's a deliberate tactic meant to keep governments feeling unsettled and constantly just reacting.
And this brings us right to the heart of Stephen Walt's analysis, this idea of seeing it all as a good cop, bad cop game, but played out on the world stage.
We all know this from police dramas, right? It's classic. One officer comes in, they're aggressive, intimidating. They create this sense of fear and desperation. And then the other one comes in, and they're friendly, understanding, offering a way out. The whole point is to make the suspect feel like complying is their only option for relief.
So here's how Walt maps this onto foreign policy. The bad cop role, that's played by whoever is delivering the toughest messages. Threatening tariffs, treating allies with a bit of contempt, and even making security guarantees sound like they're conditional. This just cranks up the anxiety. But then, the good cop steps in. These are the officials with a more polished, soothing tone. They talk about strategic partnerships and offer reassurance, all in the name of stabilizing things.
But here is the absolute crucial part of Walt's argument. The good cop isn't there to save the ally from the bad cop. No, their job is to channel all of that fear and confusion into compliance. They're basically signaling that the only way back to calm waters is for the ally to do more of what the U.S. is demanding.
So what's the real goal here? Well, as we're about to see, it's not just about getting one country to do what you want. It's about something much bigger. It's about division.
According to Walt, this entire strategy plugs right into a core belief that being unpredictable actually gives you a massive advantage in any negotiation. The thinking goes, if your partners never know what you're going to do next, they are far more likely to just give you what you want to reduce that uncertainty.
And this lays out the strategic logic beautifully. Step 1, keep your allies off balance. Keep them guessing. Step 2, all that constant anxiety makes it really hard for them to form a united front. Step 3, once they're fragmented, you can pick them off and negotiate with each country one-on-one. And that, of course, leads you to Step 4, maximizing American leverage in every single one of those talks.
From this strategic point of view, a strong, unified European Union that acts as one big bloc, well, that's a huge obstacle. It has its own power, its own agenda. But a fragmented Europe, that's so much easier to handle. You can just deal with one capital at a time to get the deals you're after.
But, and this is a big but, this strategy is definitely not without its dangers. Walt is quick to point out that what looks like a short-term win could come with some really serious long-term costs for the United States.
I mean, think it through. If you're constantly bullying your partners, they might become weaker and way less reliable when you actually need their help. You could lose their cooperation on really critical stuff like intelligence sharing and technology. They'll almost certainly start looking for other economic and security partners, diversifying away from the U.S. And the great irony is you could end up pushing them toward the very strategic autonomy you were trying to prevent in the first place. And that right there is the central paradox of this whole thing. This constant pressure, this good cop/bad cop routine that's meant to maintain dominance could actually be the very thing that forces Europe to finally get its act together and become a truly independent power on the world stage.
So if you accept this playbook, how in the world should European allies respond? Well, Walt offers a very, very clear prescription.
First things first, he says, stop being so confused by it all. Stop trying to figure out what the real policy is. The confusion isn't a bug in the system, it is the system. Those mixed signals are the whole point of the strategy. So what is the solution?
According to Walt, it's this, and I'm quoting here, "The only effective counter is to present a united front and judge the United States by actions rather than words." Unity, in other words, is the perfect antidote to a strategy of division.
In other words, ignore the soothing words of the good cop. Those private reassurances, they're basically irrelevant. What really matters are the facts on the ground. What is the actual trade policy? Are alliance commitments really being honored? You have to look at the behavior, not the rhetoric. And all of this brings us to one final question to really chew on. Is this good cop, bad cop game, this weaponization of unpredictability, a brilliant master strategy for gaining leverage, or is it a short-sighted tactic that will ultimately leave a nation powerful, sure, but also totally isolated?